The seeds of doubt have been sown, and everyone is preparing to make their power move.
We're through the looking glass here, people.
Powerful Nerdcast assembled!
Stay dandy, baby. Greetings, Gundam fans. The Ace Guru is here to take a look at another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. We're only 2 episodes away from the finale of the first half of this entire series, and things are really starting to pick up. The doo-doo butter is about to hit the fan. And in typical Gundam fashion, things are not exactly black and white. There's not exactly a good side or an evil side. There's multiple factions which are getting ready to make their move, to either take over the Bennett group, take Gundam Incorporated for themselves, or to simply just take control of everything. But before we talk about the giant robots and political machinations, let's go ahead and do that YouTube algorithm thing, where if you're liking my content, make sure to hit the like button. If you're loving it, subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. But now it's time to talk about an episode which is truly ramping up the tension as we head into the end of the first half of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. There was a lot going on in this episode. A lot of that focusing on Suletta, who's sort of watching things while Miorine is going off and doing her own thing, which is to say representing the company, trying to get some fundage, trying to impress her father, while also trying to dodge all of the advances of all these other characters who simply just want to take Gundam Incorporated for themselves. But of course, we also have all of these other players who are preparing to do their very own thing. There's some political intrigue going on in the background, where we already had Gwail's father now teaming up with the leader of the Grassley organization, Shadik's father, as they plan to have an assassination attempt on none other than Delling himself to try and take control of the Bennett group. While all of this is going on, we also have Pale Technologies, which has created another clone of Elan. Not so much a clone, more of like a doppelganger, so to speak, to try and get closer to Suletta, to try and get a little bit more info on that Gundam and how it all connects to the Shinsei Corporation. Not only that, but we even go to Earth, where we're introduced to a couple of brand new characters who just so happen to have some very familiar looking mobile suits. That's right, we're gonna get some brand new Gundams in this episode, and to make matters worse, by the end of all of it, Suletta is beginning to question her entire relationship with Miorine in the first place. Is it authentic? Does it mean anything? This was a jam-packed episode! So let's break down some of the biggest events in this episode. First and foremost, Miorine. She has left control of Gundam Incorporated to Suletta and everyone else in the Earthian house, and they're off doing their own thing, while Miorine goes to try and get some more fundage, as well as learning a little bit more from her father about what it truly means to run a corporation and how to properly sort of fund it. And I actually really like these moments, because for the very first time in the series, they really weren't at each other's throats. She was there to learn and to listen. Even though her dad is, well, kind of a dick, he does have a lot of experience in what he does, and that type of experience could truly help her and Gundam Incorporated out. Meanwhile, back at the Earthian house, while Miorine is gone, we get to see that they're developing the Gundam technology, which is to say, the prosthetics. And we even get to see one in action in this episode, which are these prosthetic legs. We get to see Suletta is actually the one demonstrating using them, and it looks really uncomfortable when she's using it, the way that she's like squatted down on these things as she's going through this obstacle course. But she ends up doing a banger job, and it's really fantastic, and it leads to arguably the funniest scene of the entire series, where they're getting ready to make a brand new PR video, and they haven't scheduled where they're gonna shoot it, and Suletta made a joke. She said, "Suletta, forgetta."
Oh my god, that is funny!
It's so dumb that it's actually kind of funny, and if anything, it brings her closer to all of her fellow classmates and everyone else who's involved in Gundam Incorporated. I should have probably also mentioned that Miorine is also going to be receiving help from that one mysterious woman who tried to get her to Earth earlier on in the series. They're this group which is known as the Space Assembly League, and they're also just really interested in Gundam technology itself, so this seems like the perfect opportunity for them to get involved as well as being her personal transport. We also get to see some of the developments of what's going on with Gwail Jeddirk. It looks like he's really trying to distance himself from his father, working undercover secretly as a brand new character who simply goes by the name of Bob. and it looks like he is going to do everything in his power to distance himself, but as we can see, he's just like a magnet. He's constantly going to be pulled to his father, especially with this big event that's going on, with the potential of his father teaming up with the Grassley organization to try and kill Delling and take control of the Benneret group. And if you had any sort of sympathy for Shadiq at the end of the last episode, like it seemed like maybe he'd have learned his lesson to not do this shady shit anymore, he's not stopping. He might still have that smile on his face, but his ultimate plan is just like his father's and Jeddirk's. They want to take control of the Benneret group, and they want to get rid of the whole dueling thing that's going on in this academy. Basically, they want to take control of everything. And if that includes murdering a guy, then they're gonna do it. In fact, Shadiq has certainly got some balls for talking to his father about this out loud in front of his entire harem. I mean, you'd think that they would wince or at least like bat an eye at this, but no, they're like, okay, we're down with the whole assassination attempt. To me, however, the biggest developments of this episode involve Pale technologies and the brand new characters who are introduced from Earth. First, we get to see that Pale has created this brand new version of Alon, who has now been released out into the wild to try and mess with Suletta's head just a little bit more. One, to court her and turn her brain into mush, but also to sort of sow the seeds of doubt all about Miorine, with the fact that maybe she didn't even really care about Suletta at all. She doesn't really see her as the groom, the one that she's going to marry. She's simply just a stepping stone for her to move forward, a tool simply to be used. And Suletta does not take this that well, especially when she's been gifted all of this responsibility from Miorine, looking after everyone from Earth House and even taking care of her precious garden. All of this seems superfluous by the end of the episode when suddenly she arrives and seems very dismissive of everything that Suletta has been doing, but the fact of the matter is that's just the way that Miorine is. She's just very blunt, but now that this brand new Alon has been getting into her head a little bit, she's starting to realize that maybe things are not as happy-go-lucky as they've actually seen before. Sometimes the ultimate weapon isn't a giant robot in the series, sometimes it's psychological warfare. But the biggest surprise of the episode is the introduction of some brand new Earth characters. We have 3 of them, this one big guy who goes by the name of Naji, and his 2 younger assistants who just so happen to be mobile suit pilots. And this group is actually found by Shadiq, and he's trying to hire them in order to try and take out Delling in this big assassination attempt. But the biggest twist, and something that was sort of hinted at in some of the previous episodes of the series, is that Nika is the one that introduced Shadiq to this group. She's sort of like acting as a double agent, so to speak, which is very unfortunate because she was like the nicest character of the entire series, and I can't imagine what the fallout is going to be like after this. And like I said, there's a post-credit scene in this episode which teases some brand new Gundam mobile suits, or at least that's what I'm going to assume that they are. I mean, they straight up look like Gundams. I mean, that's probably what they're going to be, and these are 2 that I believe were also teased in the intro of the show about halfway through this season. And so far, they look kind of okay. They're kind of plain. There's a blue one, there's a brown one. I don't know what they're going to be capable of. They're probably going to have some secret abilities, but they're piloted by these 2 women, one of which seems really gung-ho and crazy, and they're actually taking control of this one ship, the one that Gwayle is actually a part of now as his brand new identity of Bob, and they're going to take them by force if necessary. This organization from Earth calls themselves the Dawn of Fold. We're getting a lot of brand new organization names in this episode with them in the Space League Assembly, so like I said, we just have a lot of different factions and organizations which are vying for power. And again, I think that's always been one of my favorite things about Gundam. It's not always just the good guys versus the bad guys. There's a lot more going on here. There's layers to these characters in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, and it's kind of hard to know who you're supposed to root for, especially because characters' motivations and abilities can sort of change on a dime. But I really can't wait to see how everything's going to end up as the season ends, because I have a feeling it's going to end with a big change of the status quo, and that's going to bring about a massive change for the next half of the show, which I imagine is going to go into much darker territory and maybe break away from the whole school setting and dueling thing and give us a more traditional war story that we see in some of the other classic Gundam anime series. But then you have assassination attempts and giant robots and, of course, the relationships between the characters, which is ultimately the cornerstone of the series. Finally starting to see those threads break apart is honestly kind of heartbreaking, especially with a character like Suletta, who's just so... There's no nice way to say this, she's very dense, so getting to see her world crumble, it feels so bad. I just feel awful for her character. I wish that she could truly understand what's actually going on here, but clearly she's a character who's very easy to manipulate. That's very evident from what's been going on with her mother and her entire secret plan, and how that's going to tie into all of this is also kind of a mystery as well. All I know is I am a long for the ride. I cannot wait to see how this first half is going to wrap things up and what sort of like big twists we're actually going to get as we move forward to the future of the Witch from Mercury, which as far as I'm concerned is one of the better Gundam animes that I've seen in a very long time. A more traditional Gundam, if you will. This isn't a Build Fighters or anything, and again, I'm not trying to downgrade or speak down to those series, but this is kind of the experience that I was looking for. And while the series is very much still in a school setting, little by little is always continuing to break away from that and show us a much bigger picture of things which are going on in this universe. And I love the way that it's actually developing. So yeah, I love this episode. I think it's another 4 out of 5 from me. However, your thoughts may differ. You might have loved this. You might have given it a 10 out of 10. You might have even thought it sucked. So make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below, telling me about some of the bigger plot developments of this episode, which ones were the most shocking to you, and what you think is actually going to happen at the end of this half of the season and beyond for the Witch from Mercury. Let's have a big discussion all about it, and of course, tell me what you thought about those brand new Gundams that we saw at the end of this episode. A lot of them have probably already been teased because they've probably released like the model kit designs of them and showing them off a little bit more. I tend to stay away from that, and I only look at that when the series is done, but still, give me your thoughts about those brand new mobile suits because they're definitely one of the most fun things about this franchise. Otherwise, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.